What gets you excited about that topic?
I'm
What makes you mad about that topic?
I'm curious about where this all came from. I'm curious about the sort of distance between the amazing diverse practices that we have today and this idea that there's some kind of original yoga, or certainly when we look way back, we don't find asana, and not at all. We find all these other sorts of practices, and so many of those practices continue today. They're incorporated into our contemporary asana practices, but we're doing so many other things with asana. I'm fascinated about how we connect, find insight into some of the ancient wisdom to inform our practices today without being held back by those ancient ideas, because I think in some cases we have some greater insights from, well, our greater experience. We've been on this planet longer, and we have the insights of science now, and I'm just fascinated by this interplay of where we are today and where it all came from. And so to dig around in the history of it all and to get a better sense of the various streams of yoga.
Can this conversation help someone, the conversation about where yoga comes from, can it actually help someone now figure out how to practice for themselves? Is there light to be shown?
Maybe so. I think for me, one of the deepest insight in this for me is that there's no such thing as one yoga. Is that there have always been multiple streams of practice, multiple styles or methods of practice, even very different ideas about what is yoga. And to me, this is empowering in a way that anyone should be able to explore yoga in ways that make sense for them in terms of their values and their intentions and their conditions, and to not again be sort of held back by some insistence that only this is yoga or only that is yoga, or that you must practice in just this way. But rather, I think again that it's liberating, and it suggests to us that we can tap into these various streams as well as create our own, and can contribute to the ongoing evolution of yoga. It's not that there's some yoga that's back there that we need to rediscover as the original yoga or something, and only then are we willing to practice. I'm fond of this quote from Ganga White in his wonderful book, Yoga Beyond Belief. He says, we stand on the shoulders of history not to see farther back into the past, but to see more clearly into the future. And I love this idea that we have this amazing foundation of all these rich traditions and diverse traditions, and then here we are in this diverse world and this opportunity to, again, see more clearly into our various futures and to make yoga meaningful for us today in today's world and in terms of our lives today. That fascinates me, and that's where I think there's relevance in history to today's practices.
Nice. And one last question. How do you like Uchak on this very first morning?
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to exploring Uchak. From what I can see, and especially last night, cruising around the Canal Canal, it's gorgeous. It's just amazingly beautiful, and my first time in Holland, so I'm excited to see around more and get a sense of all this.
Mark Stevens.